Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is the Book of Isaiah, and the first thing I like to do is thank everybody for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. And like the title of the video says, it's just going to be the best moves of the NBA offseason in my opinion. So without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off with the Brooklyn Nets, I think that the Patty Mills deal was a complete steal for the Brooklyn Nets. They got him at 2 years, $12 million. He's exactly what they need. Scoring, point guard off the bench. You saw he played an international play, dropped, I believe, 42 points in the bronze medal game. So he could really score in bunches off the bench, which is exactly what they need. I don't think they had a really good, solid backup point guard last year, with the injury to Spencer Dinwiddie. So yeah, it's a great move for the Nets, and definitely, if it didn't already, in my opinion, they're already the title favorites, but just adding Patty Mills just makes them that much stronger. Next move, the Chicago Bulls. They did 2 sign-in trades, and the first sign-in trade they received Lonzo Ball, and they signed him to 4 years, $85 million. Perfect fit for Lonzo Ball next to Zach LaVine. They could play off each other perfectly. Lonzo's become a very good spot-up shooter over the last couple of years, shooting over 37% the last 2 years on around 5-6 attempts a game. So pretty good volume and great percentages. And then with the second move that they did, they received DeMar DeRozan in a sign-and trade. And I'm not the biggest DeRozan fan in the world, but I do believe that he is a good fit for this team, and it does create a lot of playmaking and size in their lineup now. Because now their lineup would be It would be Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Nikola Vucevic. I expect them to be in the playoffs this year, not a high seed or anything, but that's definitely a pretty solid lineup, because I feel like all those guys work with each other, because Lonzo's not trying to really score, he's trying to get others involved, and DeRozan himself has actually become a very good playmaker over the last couple years with San Antonio. So, and then of course Vucevic, he's a very good playmaker at the 5 position. So it just fits perfectly. 3 years, $85 million for DeRozan, if I didn't mention that. So yeah, the Bulls could make some noise this season. You never know how a team like this is gonna fit. It could go really good or really bad, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be a pretty good move for the Bulls, and it makes sense because Zach LaVine is going into the last year of his deal, so they probably want to make him happy, to get him to want to resign in Chicago. Next on the list of moves, the Lakers. The Lakers made a whole lot of moves, whole lot of signings, but the ones that obviously stand out are the Russell Westbrook trade. They traded Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and KCP to get Westbrook. So Westbrook obviously increased the ceiling of this team. Dennis Schroeder just wasn't getting it done last year, as you saw in the playoffs, and now it doesn't even look like anybody's going to want to sign him. So, that's pretty unfortunate for him, but for the Lakers, you get a legitimate star player, a guy who's capable of averaging a triple-double every single night, and a guy who just is a go-getter, you know what I mean? Like Russ gives it 150% on every possession, so I think LeBron's going to love that about him. That's why he's a lot of people's favorite player. And obviously next, we got the Carmelo Anthony signing. It's just a perfect fit, obviously. The Lakers, right after they made the Westbrook trade, they were kind of devoid of any shooting at all, so adding Melo is a perfect fit, because all he does now is pretty much spot up shoot, so it works perfectly. And Melo's best friends with LeBron James, so they've been wanting to play with each other for a long time. I'm kind of surprised it didn't happen sooner, but you know what I mean? It better late than never. And another one of my favorite signings for the Lakers, I think it's a very underrated signing, is Malik Monk. And last year, Malik Monk averaged 12 points a game in only 20 minutes, so he could score pretty quickly, and I think there's a chance he could be in their starting lineup. They did sign a couple other guys. They signed Kendrick Nunn, they signed Wayne Ellington, Kent Bazemore, so we'll see who starts for them, but in my opinion, the ideal starting lineup for them would be Westbrook, Malik Monk, LeBron, Melo, and Anthony Davis. And I know AD don't like playing the 5, but in my opinion, I think he's got to play the 5 if the Lakers want to have a chance of beating the Nets this year, because I don't know about AD and Dwight playing together, especially against a team like the Nets with all the spacing that they have. It's going to be a very tough, it's going to be a tough one for them. So, yeah, that does it for the Lakers, and moving on to the Miami Heat. Obviously, the biggest move that they made this offseason was the Kyle Lowry signing trade. They traded Goran Dragic and Precious Achiuwa to the Raptors for Kyle Lowry. Then they signed him to a 3-year, $85 million contract. I mean, perfect, honestly, for them. They needed another dude who can create his own shot, put the ball in the hole. You saw how it affected them in the playoffs last year, Jimmy Butler couldn't do anything. He was pretty much the only guy on the team that can create his own shot. Tyler Hero didn't get it done. Duncan Robinson's more of a spot-up, catch-and-shoot type of guy. So, yeah, Kyle Lowry, a champion, a player who always comes up in the clutch, good defender. He is 35, but, to sign him for the last 3 years, most likely of his career, he's definitely going to be trying to get another ring before, he calls it quits on his career. Speaking of Duncan Robinson, they did re-sign him to a 5-year, $90 million deal. And, this is what shooters go for these days, especially elite ones like Duncan Robinson. So, a lot of people call it overpay. I think this deal is going to look like a bargain in the next couple of years, especially with the salary cap going up. Duncan Robinson, they absolutely had to bring him back, so I'm glad that they did. And a pretty shocking signing for them. I didn't think they were going to be able to get him, but it was PJ Tucker. They got him at 2 years, $15 million. I thought the Bucks were for sure going to bring PJ Tucker back just because how important he was to this year's championship team. But I don't know. Something happened, obviously, and PJ ends up going to the Heat. So, yeah, great move for the Heat. They also, underrated move, they brought back Victor Oladipo. Victor Oladipo's pretty much back on a veteran's minimum. He's got to prove he can stay healthy. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But if Victor Oladipo comes back and he is healthy, Miami could have a very dangerous lineup. The defense in that lineup with Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo. Yeah, that could be championship level if, everything goes right. Like I said, it's a big if with Victor Oladipo. The man hasn't really been able to stay healthy for the last 2-3 years, so, prayers up to him. Hopefully he's able to stay healthy. And moving on to the New York Knicks, they pretty much brought back all their free agents. They brought back Alec Burks, they brought back Nerlens Noel, and they re-signed Derrick Rose. And then 2 additional signings that they made were Evan Fournier. They signed him away from the Boston Celtics. They got him at a 4-year, $78 million deal. A little pricey, but they needed some scoring. If you'd watched the Knicks in the playoffs, you definitely saw that. They had no one really outside of Derrick Rose who could get their own shot. Julius Randle couldn't really do it on his own. He didn't play well at all either in the playoffs. So you had a guy like Fournier, who's an elite three-point shooter. He could create his own shot. He could pass a little bit. Not a defender, but that's not really what the Knicks are looking for. So you add him, and an unexpected move that not a lot of people saw coming was Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker was bought out by the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they were able to sign him to a 1-year, $8 million deal. And for Kemba, it's perfect. And for the Knicks, it's also perfect because it's basically a no-risk situation, Like, you bring in Kemba for $8 million. Kemba despite all the injuries and like up and down plays had over the last couple of years due to his injury, he's still like worth around like $15 million. You know, a guy could score 20 points a night easily, which is what Kemba does. It's just gonna do nothing but help the Knicks. So you bring in Kemba, you bring in Fournier, you re-sign all of your guys. I mean, it just seems like a perfect fit. You know what I mean? Because Kemba is from New York. This is probably where he's always wanted to be. He's probably where he's dreamed of playing his entire life. So, yeah, good for him and good for the Knicks. The Knicks, I expect to be back in the playoffs this year. And, yeah. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the channel. I appreciate it. And everyone, have a great night. Thank you.